One of the key requirements in IATF 16949 is IATF clause 7.1.4.1, which relates to keeping premises in a state of order, cleanliness and repair. Let's watch this video filmed at Jaguar Land Rover engine plant in the UK and see what we can learn from how this organisation tries to address this requirement effectively within their quality management system.
So Dan, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Dan Cheadle. I work for Plant Quality. I'm the process leader over QMS and COP. I've been here for 5 years so far.
Brilliant. And do you want to just explain the sort of 5S approach?
Yeah, so for the manufacturing area, every zone in the facility has a 5S audit.
Yeah.
We have a set specific number of questions whereby we go through and we tick either 0 or 5.
Yeah.
So at the end of the process, it gives us a scoring system. We work out that scoring as a percentage, and then over the week we can average it and then feed it into our local scorecards.
Yeah, and is that by zone? So does each zone end up with its own score? Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah, so each individual zone will have that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they'll be pulled together as front leg and back leg, and a total score will be added together.
Yeah.
But to back up the actual auditing process, so anybody in the facility can do it.
Yeah.
But they have a set visual standards.
Okay.
So each zone again will have its own unique standards as well as specifics.
Yeah.
And this will be looking at home positions, racking, parts, etc. And like I said, if there's any non-conformities, they score it down and then it can feed into their local CCR and then they can rectify the actions going forward.
So that will drive the actions and the improvement.
That's correct.
Brilliant.
So, Niall, in this video, we see Jaguar Land Rover using the 5S approach to help meet this requirement. Is 5S mandated by IATF 16949?
No, there's nothing that says an organisation must apply 5S within the IATF standard. It could be stipulated as a customer-specific requirement, but there's no doubt the expectation is that workplaces are organised to promote safety and standardisation, etc.
Yeah, and 5S is a great way to better demonstrate that. Devon, when people then are doing a 5S audit, are there any specific questions that they have to ask?
No, the number and type of questions is to be defined by the organization, which can vary depending on complexity of the relevant work area. In the case of JLR, as they report compliance as a %, the number of questions does not have to be the same in each area.
Yeah, that was interesting. And Niall, I know again you've worked within the automotive industry, and probably like me, you've seen where 5S doesn't work effectively, particularly related to sustainability. What did you see in this video related to the JLR efforts to make sure that they sustain 5S effectively?
Yeah, and I think the theme, Paul, is the management commitment, the top management support. So like many of the things we've seen during our time at JLR, I think a key element of their success is that management commitment. And it's important that management demonstrate their commitment to all things, including 5S, by undertaking audits, discussing results and ensuring actions are taken when the level of performance drops below any specified target. And again, as always, the sort of leading by example is such an important part of this, particularly with 5S. And it was really interesting to see how they were rolling the concept out into the office environment as well.
Yeah. And we saw a lot of visual standards, Devon. Why are they important within the context of a 5S program?
Because to undertake an effective 5S audit, you need to be able to compare the condition of the workplace against a standard. If there's not a standard, there'd be really no way to judge what the relevant 5S score should be.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And now, can 5S audits then be used as part of the evidence for an internal audit program?
Yeah, I think they could be. I think in many organisations, they kind of keep the internal process audits separate from 5S. But there's no doubt if you're doing a process audit and there is an element of 5S that is not functioning effectively, then of course that would be identified as a concern. But yeah, if the formal audit process, there does need to be a process for 5S auditor qualification. Audits need to be independent of the area being audited, and results must be clearly documented with action taken when the planned results are not achieved. Yeah, I would say keep the two things separate, the internal system audits and the 5S audits, but without question, there is a merging of the two.
Yeah, there's definitely a strong overlap there, but that may be one of the reasons that organisations do keep them separate. Okay, let's summarise. So, Clause 7.1.4.1 defines a requirement to keep premises in a state of order, cleanliness and repair. The work environment needed will depend on the industry sector. For example, the work environment needed in a semiconductor company will be very different to the work environment needed in a steel foundry, for example. 5S, although it isn't mandated by IATF 16949, is a great way of helping an organisation maintain the required work environment. But for 5S to work effectively, there must be commitment and support from the top management within the organisation and an effective process to monitor the sustainability.